Hey, BCista here, and welcome to the semifinals of the Chill Draft League. We are going to be playing against Samurott Jack, who's the reigning champion of the Chill Draft League. So, before I start, if you haven't watched any of my videos, I do have a single video that covers the entire rest of the regular season up to this point. And so, if you'd like to watch that, you can, there's a description and a tag here. However, if not, then let's get into the specific matchup. So here's the match. Their team's on the left and my team's on the right. So last time I struggled immensely with Feeble and Tapafini lead with Zacian and Sableye in the back. That was definitely a really big problem I had, and I don't really have a great way to do that, especially because if they switch it up and lead something like Zacian and Thievul, or Zacian and Sableye, or Zacian and Regieleki, a lot of things like that could have major difficulties for my team, and it's kind of hard to prepare for all of them. So one of the big things is I wanted to be able to deal with Thievul, Sableye, and Zacian really effectively. And I don't have a great way to deal with that, in all honesty. And with a lot of thought and discussion with some people, I came up with the idea that I was going to do Iron Defense Body Press Metagross. So the reason behind this is that I'm able to make a very offensive Metagross without having high attack. And so the foul plays from Pokemon like Sableye and Thievul won't do that much. And in addition, I should be able to take pretty good damage from the Zacian. And in addition, Zacian takes neutral damage for Body Press. And for the most part, a +2 Iron Defense, a +2 Metagross with Body Press should two-shot most Zacians. So in addition to that, there's a couple of other Pokemon, but the big one would just be kind of supporting it with terrain, with NDD and Tapu Lele to deal with possible Sableye issues. Um, pair it next to Meowstic to get light screens to deal with special defense. And other than that, that's kind of my main idea of how I can beat the team. Definitely I am strongly believing that they're going to have a pretty standard or similar team based on, how the match went and how I think, they were in a very commanding position. I struggled so much with that team. So with that, let's get into my specific team. So here's my team. So first we can see the most important Pokemon, which is Metagross. Metagross is max HP, max defense, and a beneficial defensive nature with 0 speed, with Iron Defense, Body Press, Iron Head, Protect. Was really liked a way to increase my special defense, but I didn't feel like I could really fit it on the set. And so hopefully we'll be able to deal with Pokemon like Tapu Lele or Tapu Fini using my other Pokemon. Next to that, we have Light Clay, um, Meowstic. So I gave it quite a bit of speed. I gave it enough speed to guarantee outspeed Thwacky so that I can fake out faster than Thwacky, which I think is possibly gonna be important, but has a good chance to not be incredibly important. Other than that, I gave it double screens with Light Clay and Thunderbolt, and then mainly defensive stuff to guarantee survive certain attacks from both with Light Screen up and with Reflect up. Next, we have Necrozma with a Colbur Berry with max HP and max defense, which is mainly there so I can guarantee survive a Behemoth Blade from a Zacian. And I have Earth Power and Moon Gas Speed, with hits most of their team for reasonable damage, and then Trick Room Protect. Next, we have Oranguru with Mental Herb to deal with Taunt and Encore from a possibility of Sableye. I gave a max HP, max defense for the same reason as I did with Necrozma, so I can survive a attack from Zacian for the most part. And then I gave it Trick Room, Instruct to increase my damage output, and Trick Room, and then Encore, which hopefully will be kind of be able to punish my opponent for protecting and trying to stall out Trick Room that way. Next, we have Tapu Lele, which is a little bit of an awkward set. I didn't do much speed investment at all, and I did max HP, max special attack pretty much with a beneficial special attack nature. However, and I gave it a Battery Berry. The reason why this is a little bit awkward is because actually Tapu Lele will not survive almost most Zacian sets, even with the Battery Berry. The reason why the Battery Berry is there is to survive an attack from a Zacian when Reflect is up. And so it definitely would be really nice if I could have survived an attack with Zacian without reflect being up, but it's not. So maybe this would have been better as any other item, maybe choice scarf, choice specs, life orb, something like that. But I decided to go with battery berry because I feel like I wanted to lean pretty heavily into the Meowstic. And then finally we have NDD. NDD I can imagine as one of the possible lead combinations. I think the main lead combination was going to be Meowstic Metagross, but the other one would be NDD Metagross. And the reason why I gave NDD a Focus Sash is specifically to counter the lead of Thievul with Taunt and Zacian, because NDD cannot survive an attack from Zacian, even at max HP and max defense, assuming that their Zacian is adamant. And so, because I was giving it a Focus Sash, I then just decided to make it max HP, max special attack, and I gave it 0 speed so that, it's a little bit better in Trick Room with Mystical Fire, Dazzling Gleam, Follow Me, and Protect. Mystical Fire mainly to deal with the Zacian, and Dazzling Gleam to deal with the multiple Dark Pokemon I'm expecting. And so overall, that's kind of my sets and kind of my game plan. So let's get into the match. So here we are for game one. So look at my opponent's time. It is the 4 Pokemon that I was 100% expecting: Zacian, Tapu Fini, Thievul, and Sableye. And then the 2 other Pokemon are basically Pokemon that I'm not too surprised to see, but are definitely, not as big impact that I don't expect to see game one. So I decided to go with my game plan 1, which is Meowstic, Metagross lead, with Necrozma and Rango in the back. This was kind of my idea because I wanted to be able to fake out, get an Iron Defense off, and then be able to set up screens and do some damage when Metagross. So my opponent leads Thievul and Tapu Fini, which is the exact lead that they led both of our previous 2 matches, and doesn't surprise me that much at all. And they reveal the Misty Seed, which is the same item they had in the previous match. So here we have a pretty safe, just Iron Defense, fake out into the Thievul spot. So we get the fake off, and Tapu Fini reveals Calm Mind and Calm Minds. This is definitely not surprising to see, and is probably very similar to the previous set that we played against last in the regular season. So we get the Iron Defense off, and now Metagross is incredibly threatening offensively into the Thievul, and I no longer really need to worry too much about foul plays and crunches from the non-Tapu Fini Pokemon. And so now I just kind of need to make sure to, not get crit too much and do some damage into the Tapu Fini when I have the opportunity. Here, I decide to just go for the Body Press on Thievul, getting the pretty free KO. And I'm debating between a Light Screen and a Reflect, and I decide to just go with the Reflect because I think it's more likely they're going to click Foul Play into me than it is for Tapu Fini to attack. And so they taunt into the Metagross, which I'm pretty happy with because I'm not planning on using a non-attacking move for a while. And it would have been pretty annoying if they would have taunted into the Meowstic. They get another Calm Mind up, and I am able to get the Body Press and the clean KO onto So they bring out Sableye, and this is a little bit awkward since I didn't bring any of my Psychic Terrain in the back. I can't really Psychic, I don't have a great answer to the Sableye right here, and I really would have liked to been able to bring in one of those Psychic Terrain users, prevent a Fake Out, or Encore, or Taunt, or something like that. However, because my Meowstic is guaranteed to be faster, I will get a guaranteed Light Screen off here unless they Fake Out. So they do Fake Out into the Meowstic here, and they also Moonblast into the Meowstic spot as well. And Meowstic just barely hangs on, and we get an Iron Head into the Tapu Fini, doing pretty good damage in all honesty. And they reveal leftovers on the Tapu Fini. So here I decide to just Iron Head into, I'm debating between the Tapu Fini and the Sableye swap, but I decided to Iron Head into the Tapu Fini and set up the Light Screen so that Tapu Fini does less damage. Tapu Fini ends up protecting here. And I'm able to get up the light screen. And we see Foul Play goes into the Meowstic, killing the Meowstic, which honestly I'd consider not bad at all because I was hoping to be able to get the switch out in all honesty because I already kind of did the double screens and the damage output is pretty low on this thing. So we bring in a Rangaroo because I think a Rangaroo seems like a better Pokemon in the Trick Room right now. And so we just decided to Iron Head into the Sableye because I decided I wanted to kill Sableye and set up Trick Room. And because of, you know, the Mental Herb, they can't really taunt me. And if they don't taunt me this turn, I'm not concerned about an Encore at all because I will still have my Mental Herb intact. If they do taunt me, I might switch out next turn to prevent an Encore though. So they Moonblast into the Rangaroo, doing pretty good damage. And my Iron Head goes into the Sableye, doing a little bit less than I was hoping. I was expecting that to 2-hit KO. And we can see the Foul Play ends up not doing much damage at all into the Metagross, especially after my leftovers. And so we get the Trick Room up and leftover recovery. And so here, I decided to just Iron Head and then Instruct. I could like Iron Head and Thunderbolt instead, or I could, you know, but like nothing seems like so much better than just double Iron Heading here. And they Will-O-Wisp into my Metagross. This is really sad. I wasn't actually expecting them to have Will-O-Wisp because of me having double Psychic terrain and Wim having Tapu Fini that sets up the Misty terrain. So it seems very like risky for them to choose to ring Will-O-Wisp, but it ends up paying off hugely because I went from kind of feeling like I was in a commanding position, definitely feeling like this is pretty close if not in their favor. However, with the double Iron Head, we are in fact able to kill the Sableye, and we're able to take the Moonblast on the Rangaroo. And so not only does it burn dramatically decrease my damage output, it also kind of mitigates my leftovers, which is definitely really annoying. So they bring out Zacian, and here I'm pretty positive it's going to double protect. So I decided to Iron Defense, and like I could in theory switch out, and I think this is probably a misplay. I decided to Instruct in case they don't protect, but in all honesty, I think this is a misplay. I think I should have switched out into Necrozma right here, because that would have dramatically increased my damage on board. But instead, I decided to just do this Instruct. So Zacian protects as I expected. And Tapu Fini actually doesn't protect, and so I actually could have attacked into double Tapu Fini, but instead we get the Iron Head off into the Zacian, and then the Iron Defense, so I'm up to +4 defense. And the Tapu Fini goes for a Calm Mind. And so here, I actually feel like I'm in not the worst spot because I have Encore on my Rangaroo, and so I can either Encore the Zacian spot and force it to protect for the next 3 turns, or I can Encore into the Tapu Fini and force it to Calm Mind for the next 3 turns. And so this is kind of a little bit of an awkward decision because it's like, okay, what is better? Which of these is a better situation? So clearly I'm probably just going to deal some pretty good damage into either Zacian or Tapu Fini here, but the question is which is the better one to Encore? The plus side to doing it into the Tapu Fini is that I don't have to deal with the possibility of double protects, because if I do it into the Zacian, I might have to, you know, attack into it to a double protect. So I decided to just get into the Tapu Fini, and so now it's the next 3 turns it will not do anything offensively. And so I just go for the damage into the Zacian spot here. and the Tapu Fini is required to Calm Mind. And we see the Zacian crunches into the Metagross, which is not much damage at all. However, you know, with the burn, any damage is kind of relevant now. And so here we see that there's only one turn of Trick Room left, and so it's definitely not the best position. And so Zacian has a pretty safe protect here, and so I want to just kind of get another Iron Defense off because of that. And you know, I can kind of switch out if I'm hard believe that they're going to protect, but that might be a little bit risky, and it might be worth doing some, or you know, doing it in Instruct just in case to get some damage into Zacian, in case they're kind of going to be aggressive in attack. So Zacian does in fact protect, and so I definitely feel like I probably, you know, might have thrown this game a little bit by just kind of not reading into some of these obvious protects and switching in a Necrozma at any point. Because now I have an Oranguru that's really low HP that definitely can't take an attack from the Zacian, and I have no way to, you know, set up Trick Room here, for example, right now. So we see that my Reflect's over, and now we see that Hepfine is at +6 special defense and +6 defense. However, I don't know if there's much I can do about it, so I just decide to Trick Room and Body Press into the Zacian spot. So Zacian crunches, killing the Oranguru. And we see a plus, or Tapu Fini getting its Calm Mind, which is its last one that it's required to do. And the Body Press goes into the Zacian. And almost killing it here. So we bring out Necrozma, so this is definitely a tough point right here. So I feel like Metagross is fine to just attack. The question is should I protect Necrozma or just click Trick Room? So if I click Trick Room, I think I'm in a pretty good position if they don't attack with both Pokemon onto it. However, if they do attack with both Pokemon onto it, I definitely want to have protected. And so I decided to protect with the assumption they're going to double up into the Necrozma spot. However, they end up protecting the Zacian, and the Necrozma also protects here, and they end up Moonblasting into the Necrozma, which is somewhat relevant, but I would have survived that even though it's at +6. Necrozma is incredibly welcoming, and I have Light Screen up, and so I'm almost guaranteed to survive that move and get a Trick Room up. And then here with the Trick Room, I am in not amazing shape, but definitely better shape than I am now, because now Necrozma is almost certainly going to die, and so I do get a pretty clean KO onto the Zacian here, but Necrozma is almost certainly going to die. And so maybe it was optimal to have double protected here, because it is incredibly likely they do go for the double up, and I can definitely not survive this double up. So we can, you know, the Cobra Berry, you know, prevents me from being killed by the Zacian, and then the Moonblast follow-up ends up killing it. And my Body Press ends up getting the kill onto the Zacian. And now I don't think we have much of a out. Right, like at +6 Body Press, if I wasn't burned, I probably have a clean 2-hit KO, but they're at +6, and even if they only have Moonblast, that's likely going to kill me or at least two-shot me because of my very little special defense investment. And so the +6 Moonblast goes into me and ends up getting the KO. So that match went okay. I feel like if I didn't get burned, I would have 100% won that game. And I feel like there's a couple points in which I would have, if I would have switched into Necrozma, I might have been able to get there. But, you know, we'll see. You know, but let's get into the second match. So here we are for game 2. So what I learned from the last game is that I feel as long as I do not get Will-O-Wisp by the Sableye, I should be safe and I should be able to win this game. And so I decide that I'm going to bring both of my Psychic Terrain users to guarantee that I do not get in the situation where Sableye will annoy me. And then I decide to bring in between Oranguru and Necrozma in the back, and I believe Necrozma is probably the better of the two. Other than that, this also does help with some other leads because the Meowstic lead that I did in game 1 is a little bit weak to something like Sableye and Feeble or Zacian and Sableye. And so this definitely helps cover those leads a little bit better as well. So my opponent leads Feeble Sableye, and I lead Indeedee Metagross. Like I said earlier, this is definitely one of the leads that I would have been punished for if I would have led Meowstic. And we get the Psychic Terrain up, which prevents Fake Out, and so the clean play is just follow me in Iron Defense. You know, so I get the pretty clean +2, and as we can see, both of my opponent's Pokemon do not do great damage into my Metagross after I have +2 defense because their only real offensive damage into it is Foul Play. So we follow me, and we get taunted by the Feeble. And we also get the Iron Defense up. And the Foul Play goes into the Indeedee spot, doing about 50% damage. Definitely one of the reasons why maybe me having a little bit less defense is a little bit annoying, but I then decide to do Dazzling Gleam because it's super effective to both, and decide to just do Body Press into the Feeble spot because we know that Sableye is the only switch into Body Press that doesn't do any damage. The Feeble comes out, and they switch into Tapu Fini. Switching to the Misty Terrain, which is not too big of a deal because it protects me from burn, and they end up accidentally clicking Will-O-Wisp, which definitely means that their turn was pretty wasted, and they probably could have killed the Indeedee, for example, but this ends up being a pretty big deal for me. I get a crit on the Tapu Fini, which definitely largely increases the damage output, and I don't know if it's too big at the moment. However, I also get a huge damage in the Body Press, which is also a crit, and that one definitely matters. So I got two pretty reasonable, or two crits in this exact turn, and you know, they definitely help put this game in a lot better position. So here, you just, I think it's pretty easy to just Dazzling Gleam. I decided to Iron Head into the Sableye, expecting to protect from the Tapu Fini. So they withdraw Sableye and bring in Zacian, which is definitely not bad because an Iron Head does do pretty good damage into the Zacian here. And we see that Tapu Fini Calm Minds instead of going for a Protect. And so I probably could have killed the Tapu Fini there or gotten very close to killing it, but you know, definitely not the worst. So we get the Dazzling Gleam, which, you know, does very minimal damage to both of them. And we get a crit on Zacian even. And the Iron Head goes into the Zacian, getting us close to around 50%. And so here, I'm honestly expecting either them killing Indeedee or just going for Protect. So I decided to just kind of separate my damage in Iron Head and Tapu Fini into Mystical Fire and Zacian. I don't think this Mystical Fire does kill Zacian, but it's definitely a 2-hit KO from here if I was to guess. So they do in fact protect the Zacian here, and they also protect the Tapu Fini. And so we just go for the Mystical Fire and the Iron Head into their protects. So this is getting them a little bit of HP with the leftovers, but I think it looks to me like they're trying to stall out their own terrain for the Sableye in the back. But there's definitely not much I can do that. All that means is I should save my terrain in the back. And so I'm thinking about just following me here, but I decided I'm just going to Mystical Fire into Zacian and Iron Head into Tapu Fini again. This seems like a pretty reasonable thing because if they, you know, I'm pretty fine with either way because Zacian is actually not threatening my Metagross. And, you know, And if they do something like, you know, Swords Dance or Substitute, I should probably be able to, you know, punish them greatly with the Mystical Fire. So they do just Substitute and set up another Calm Line. And so I definitely feel like I'm hoping to be able to kill this Tapu Fini and 2 more Iron Heads. And the Mystical Fire goes into the Zacian, and with my max special attack, I'm able to break the sub, and definitely a pretty big deal there. And then the Iron Head goes into the Tapu Fini, doing pretty good damage, and I think enough damage to kill it through the Leftovers recovery. And so here, I think the obvious play is just do the exact same option, which is Mystical Fire and Iron Head into the Tapu Fini spot. You know, if they attack, then so be it, and if not, you know, I get a kill on either of them. So here they bring in the Sableye and protect the Tapu Fini, which, you know, definitely makes sense. And so the Mystical Fire goes into the Sableye, which doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but and the Iron Head does go into the protect. And so here I think that I should be able to kill it still with the Iron Head. It's pretty close, but as we can see, the Misty Terrain goes away here, and so we can see that they clearly were just stalling out their own terrain. So I'm going to switch in Tapu Lele to get back the Psychic Terrain to make sure Sableye doesn't do anything, and Iron Head into the Tapu Fini, hoping to kill it here. So we do switch out and get in the Tapu Lele. And getting the Psychic Surge, which pretty makes the Sableye completely useless now. And the Fake Out is protected by the Psychic Terrain, and the Moonblast goes into my Tapu Lele, which honestly did more damage than I was expecting, given the fact that my Tapu Lele is max HP and has generally very high special defense. And so here they bring in the Zacian, and I pretty much have the obvious play of body pressing into the Zacian and Moonblasting into the Sableye, because those should kill both of them. And if they don't attack with Zacian, then I get the clean kill on Sableye, and if they don't attack with Sableye, then and I get a kill on Zacian here with the Bite Fist. So we see that the Crunch does reasonable damage, but not huge because of my body press. We get the Moonblast off, killing this Sableye, and we actually get a crit here, which I don't think the crit mattered at all. Moonblast does a lot of damage from the Tapu Lele, especially when it's modest max special attack. And this body press should get the kill here, and now we're pretty much in a commanding position, and the game is definitely going to be on our side. And not only that, we actually didn't even lose a Pokemon and didn't even reveal our last Pokemon in the back. So this was definitely a very convincing win in this side, and I definitely feeling pretty good about the last game. So here I decide to just protect the Tapu Lele because I don't want it to die, and I don't want to reveal anything too much about it. Maybe I shouldn't have protected and revealed that I actually have protect here, but I decided to just make sure it doesn't die. They foul play into the Metagross spot, and we can see that it does pretty reasonable damage, but not nearly enough, and the body press is a clean 1-hit KO onto the Feeble. And we get there for game 2. So here we are for the game 3. So game 2 went really well, and I see no reason to switch up anything. I decided to kind of do the same thing. I honestly don't think they have a base from what I've seen. They don't have a great way to deal with that, other than just Tapu Fini getting some big damage. And so hopefully we'll be able to kind of pressure them well enough so that we can kill Tapu Fini before it sets up to +6 like it did in game 1. So my opponent leads Zacian and Feeble, and I lead the same lead as I did last time with Indeedee and Metagross. So this lead definitely is not too bad for me because I have the Focus Sash on Indeedee. If I didn't have the Focus Sash on Indeedee, Behemoth Blade into Indeedee taunt into Metagross would be really bad for me. And that's one of the reasons why I have the Focus Sash. So I just follow me here and set up an Iron Defense. And so we get to follow me off, and we see that Zacian just goes for the sub, which honestly is not too big of a deal because that means that my um, NDD does not take any damage this turn and it just gets taunted. And I get the free Iron Defense off, which makes my position into both of these Pokemon with Metagross very good. So now I decide to just Mystical Fire and Body Press into the Zacian. Because they just set up the substitute, I think it's very likely that they are just going to attack because they seem so unsafe. And we learned from the previous game that Mystical Fire does break the sub. And in addition to that, Thievul just doesn't threaten me that much right now because I don't actually care about being taunted on either of my Pokemon since VD's already taunted and Metagross is already already has an Iron Defense off. And the Foul Play doesn't do a huge amount now that I'm at +2 defense. And so we see that they end up withdrawing the Thievul to get in the Tapu Fini, which I understand because, like I said, the Thievul was not very much threatening at this exact moment, and so so it makes sense that they decided to do that. So the Zacian does decide to attack, and they end up punching into the Metagross, which does do pretty good damage. But after the leftovers, it's not that big of a deal. And in addition to that, we see that the Mystical Fire does break the substitute again. And the Body Press into it is going to do a very large amount of damage. And now Zacian is going to be within range of another Mystical Fire or Body Press. And so now, looking at this, my opponent's clearly most likely just going to Calm Mind with Tapu Fini and protect the Zacian. However, I do want to play around the possibility of an attack from Zacian, so I decided to Mystical Fire into the Zacian and Iron Head into the Tapu Fini. So they do protect the Zacian here. And they do Calm Mind with the Tapu Fini, so pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Obviously, I could have done something like Mystical Fire and Tapu Fini or Dazzling Gleam instead, but I didn't want to make too risky a decision. And so the Mystical Fire does go into the Protect of the Zacian, and the Iron Head goes into the Tapu Fini, doing pretty good damage. And we both get our leftovers recovery. And so here, I decided to just Mystical Fire into the Zacian and Iron Head into the Tapu Fini again. I don't think it's super likely that they're going to keep the Zacian in, and I would rather get some damage into the Tapu Fini than whatever their Pokemon in the back are going to switch in as. However, as previously, I wanted to make sure to Mystical Fire into Zacian just in case they do stay in. But they do switch out the Zacian into a Thwackey, which gets rid of the Misty Terrain, then switches to Grassy Terrain, which gets more recovery on both of our Pokemon, and which definitely can make Tapu Fini pretty hard to deal with. And Tapu Fini gets into another Calm Mind. However, with the four Pokemon they revealed, the only Pokemon that really makes my Metagross feel any pressure is this Tapu Fini. So I feel like if I'm able to kill this Tapu Fini, I'm in great shape. The Mystical Fire goes into Thwackey and does about 50%, and the Iron Head brings Tapu Fini down to about half. However, with the leftovers and the Grassy Terrain, Tapu Fini gets quite a bit of health. However, I also get a pretty reasonable amount of health back with the terrain and leftovers as well. And so here, I don't really want to get faked out, so I decided to switch in Tapu Lele, and I am going for a Body Press into the Thwackey, expecting Tapu Fini to go for a Protect. So we bring out Tapu Lele, get our Psychic Terrain back up. And Tapu Fini does in fact go for a Protect, so we did read that correctly. And they go for a knockoff with Thwackey, which damage-wise does probably more than I was expecting, honestly, but not a huge amount. But sadly, it does get rid of my leftovers, which does hurt my longevity a little bit. But I do get the pretty clean kill onto the Thwackey there. So they bring in Zacian, and so here my Tapu Lele is completely threatened. Even though it has the Battery Berry, it's going to get one-shot by Zacian. However, I'm willing to risk this with a Shy Shock into Tapu Fini and an Iron Head into Tapu Fini as well. Because if they do, because I don't really care about the Zacian, I only really care about the Tapu Fini. And if I can kill the Tapu Fini, I'm in very good shape. And so they do, in fact, go in, attack the Zacian into the Tapu Lele. And killing the Tapu Lele despite having the Battery Berry. Revealing that they are adamant with the Zacian, which is not too surprising. And they Calm Mind into the Tapu Fini, and we do get an Iron Head off into the Tapu Fini. And so here, though, I am definitely feeling pretty good about my position because I get a crit, and now I don't have to worry about too much about not being able to kill Tapu Fini or having to roll with my next Iron Head. I think I probably would have gotten there, but I think it's definitely good. And so here I realize I'm about to almost click NDD, but I realize I have a very clean path to victory here with Necrozma. So the idea is if I click Trick Room with Necrozma, I get Trick Room up, I'm pretty much, the game is over because my Metagross and Necrozma under Trick Room are going to wipe their team. However, if they double up, I have a free kill into Tapu Fini, and Metagross should be able to take Feeble and Zacian on, even if I don't get Trick Room up. And so this is a very much, I feel like a completely safe situation, and I'm fine as long as I don't get crit on my Metagross at some point in this game. And so, barring a crit, I should win this game from this position. So they do protect Tapu Fini, so I don't kill it. However, I know this Crunch can never kill Necrozma, even with a crit here. And so I get my Trick Room up. And so if they were to double up instead, Tapu Fini would be dead, and I would have Necrozma. And this would also be a winning position. So their decision, I think, was fine. It was just this was a completely a winning position at this exact point. And so now I have Trick Room up, I underspeed their entire team, and I have 2 free KOs in front of me with an Earth Power on Zacian and an Iron Head on Tapu Fini. So they do no protects, the Iron Head into Tapu Fini gets the KO. And the Earth Power into Zacian gets the KO. And now 100% guaranteed win now. And this was huge. I was very concerned going into this match, and this player actually ended up knocking me out of playoffs last season on the road to getting the championship. And so now we just Earth Power and Body Press. It was an incredibly close match. I definitely think that they have ways to have beaten this, and I just strongly read in what I was expecting to see from them, and was able to, I think, get a pretty good set and a set of 6 Pokemon to be able to counter what they were bringing. Because if they would have brought something like Regieleki, I definitely think this exact team composition might struggle really hard with it. But in the end, we were able to get there, and it was a really great match, and I'm excited to have made it to the championship. So hopefully we get there, and I will hopefully have a video out next week with the championship. Thank you for watching.